what's up you guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's your girl Angel K, and I'm back with another video. A lot of people ask me this same question. They always ask me how I found roommates in Atlanta and how they could find some for themselves. So I just wanted to come with this quick video showing and telling you guys how I found my roommates in Atlanta. I've had 3 roommates in my own apartment, but I've lived with somebody else, so I'll also tell you how I found that person, but I'll also share with you guys how I found the roommates to live with me, so it goes hand in hand. I'm gonna name 5 different places where you can find roommates. 5. The first place is going to be roommates.com. Now I think they have an app for this, but I really just use the website. This is really just an easy way to find a room that you want to stay in, because what I did when I first moved here is I stayed in a room so that I could kind of figure out my surroundings and ground myself and then find my own apartment a month later. So you can look on roommates.com. It is completely free. It has everybody from the age of 18 to the age of 60. You can see their profile. If you want to see their full profile, like their bio and everything, you do have to become a VIP member, which I didn't become because first of all, I never actually found anybody on roommates.com. I just know that it's a good website, and like I've talked to people on there. Like you can message people for free. Some websites don't let you message people for free. You got to sign up and create a subscription. I have talked to a few people on there. I just never found the right person to live with, so I didn't go through with it. But it is a good website. I feel like it's pretty convenient, and you literally just message people, see if they're the right fit, you know, see if it would be somebody that you want to live with, and you just go from there. The second place where you can find roommates is this app called Roomi. It's R-O-O-M-I. This app, it's very safe. I like it. It's also convenient, just like roommates.com. Now, the only thing about it is that you can scroll through people's profiles a little bit. You can see how old they are. You can see how much they're renting the room out for. You can view their photos. But if you want to message somebody, you have to pay $20 for a background check. Now, I didn't do that because I mean, it's really safe. This is a really good option for somebody who's very like wary of strangers and living with people they don't know. If you really want to like make sure that you're staying with somebody who has like no criminal record, who hasn't been like involved with the law or you know anything crazy, then this is definitely something you should go for. If you want like the most safest way, then this app would be good for you because they do background checks for $20. So yes, if you want to message somebody, then you would have to go do that. But some people do kind of break the rules, and they will put their number in the bio, as in like they'll just kind of like spell it out, because if they do put the actual number, then the app will block it. But some people will either like spell their email out and put dot.com, or they'll put their numbers out and just like spell out the numbers. Like, you know, if it's 678, they'll be like SIX.SE7EE, whatever, however you spell 7. So some people will do that. If you message somebody through the app, then you know that they passed the background check. You know somebody that you can trust, because you can just go through and see what they have done and all that stuff. So yeah, I would recommend that for anybody who needs to just have that extra layer of safety, comfortability for yourself. The third way is Instagram. Now this is how I found my last roommate, because it was just kind of like I was looking everywhere, and I was just like, let me just post it on my Instagram and see what I find. I was still kind of new to Atlanta, so I knew like some of my friends, some people that I knew had my Instagram, and they would share the post. So my last roommate, I found her, and she was actually the best roommate I ever had. Like honestly, she was cool as fuck. She was just to herself. She worked, she paid the rent on time. Like she was just the best roommate I've ever had. So I met her through Instagram. Everything was cool. She came by, checked out the place, and she was my age. I think she's either a year older than me or a year younger, or we're about the same age. And she has no kids, she has nothing. She was just a great roommate. So what I did really is I just made like a post on my Instagram story, and I was just like looking for a roommate, you know, this is the rent, this is the location. And then we just kind of spoke here and there, and you know, then she just came by, looked at the house, and we agreed on certain stuff, and that was it. and it was great. A couple other people did reach out to me, but like I said, there's just certain people that you know you wouldn't want to live with them. I just feel like you can judge somebody from their Instagram. So even if you don't meet somebody through Instagram, wherever you meet them from, I feel like you should ask them if they have an Instagram and just go through their profile. You can tell a lot about somebody by their profile. You can tell if they are focused on work. You can tell if they're just trying to be like an Instagram model. You could tell if they like to party a lot. You could tell if they have a lot of friends, if they're gonna be inviting a lot of people over. You could tell if they're more quiet and reserved. You can just tell a lot about a person by their Instagram profile. So even if you don't meet them through Instagram, you could still check out their profile and decide if they're the best fit for, you know, you too. A lot of people don't think it matters who you live with as long as they pay the rent on time, and that is just not true. That is not true, baby. Okay? Because once you see those pictures of their bedroom, of them living in their parents' house or wherever they live in the past, or you see their bathroom and it's looking messy, untidy, and their clothes looking dirty, like, that's just the type of environment, that's just the type of that's what they're gonna bring to your house, or, you know, wherever. Also, I am gonna say that if you are going to rent out a room with somebody, this is also a better way for you to see if you want to live with them as well. It goes hand in hand too. Like, you'll just see what type of person they are, what they do, and if you want to live with them. So the fourth way is Craigslist. Now, Craigslist is the most dangerous option. I'm just gonna put it out there because anybody can be anybody on Craigslist, and I've met a lot of people on Craigslist who were just like an absolute just a nightmare, to say the least. When I first came to Atlanta, I did find the first person that I moved with, because I've only lived in somebody else's house once ever in my life, I could say. I found him on Craigslist, and it just worked out for me because the area that he was in was cool. The pictures that people post are very, very important to me, because if you're trying to post your room and, you know, I don't really care about the angles of the picture or anything, but the bed has to be decent, you know. I have to have my own closet, of course. The bathroom has to be clean. Everything has to be clean. Everything just has to look a certain way, and he just had that. And I spoke to him. First we started texting, and he seemed cool, professional, not a creep or anything. He seemed really cool, and then we started talking on the phone. This was like weeks before I actually moved to Atlanta, so I already had him in the back of my mind that I could possibly be staying with him. I also found another girl. She was actually a little bit more weird and like just weird. So that was the process of how I found him on Craigslist. He was cool. Nothing like major happened when I lived with him. And I did tell my subscribers, people who have been following me for a long time, I did say I was going to make a story time about this, and I didn't. I'm sorry. But I will say that he was just very like misogynistic. I think that's the word. Like, he was just like, me man, you woman. Like, he just thought he was above me, and he was older. He was like 40 years old. Plus, he had a 19-year-old stripper, and he had kids her age. So I just thought that was weird. So he just had like little weird stuff about him, and he said his name was King, but really his name was like Jamal or something. So it was just like, it wasn't major where I felt like my life was in danger, because obviously I would have got that sense of like meeting with him and talking to him so many times. But obviously as I'm living with him, I get to know certain things, so yeah. But when I got my own apartment and my first roommate had left, when I started looking for a second roommate, I also found her on Craigslist. Now, I think I said this in the beginning of the video. If I didn't, I've had three roommates that have lived with me. And the first one, I met him through the first person I lived with. The second person, I met her through Craigslist, and the third person was through Instagram. So the second person I met through Craigslist, she was a hot mess. I will tell a full story time about this, I promise, because she was the worst roommate anybody could ever have. Like, she was just the worst. The worst. Like, I have PTSD just thinking about it. I have anxiety just thinking about it, because she was just horrible. She was terrible. But I will say she was my age. Just to give y'all a little sneak peek, she did have like a 2-year-old daughter. That really wasn't the problem though. It was just who she was as a person. I will make a story time about that and tell you guys. Some people who would reach out to me saying they wanted the room, I would talk to them on the phone. Or no, there was this one person, right? First, it was this woman. And I just knew she was a crackhead off the bat. Like, she was just like... I'm sorry, but like, when I was texting her, it was cool. It was alright, you know. Nothing like red flags, like blaring, nothing. But then she just kept wanting to call me and talk on the phone. Like, she seemed really desperate for the room. So I was just like, okay, like, sure. So we got on the phone a few times, and every time we spoke on the phone, she gave me more and more information. And the way she spoke was kind of like erratic, like she had a problem. She told me like she has 2 daughters, I think. 2 grown daughters that were supposed to be in college, but then they would be staying with her. And I was just like, well, it's only 1 bed, so how is that gonna work? And she was just like, oh, they could sleep in the bed with me, I don't mind. And I'm just like, yeah, but I do, because this was only for 1 person. I can't have 3 people. 3, including me, that's 4 people in my 2-bedroom apartment. I don't think so. And she just kept calling me. I had to block her eventually because it was just annoying. I met another dude who rode his bike to work and stuff, and he kept asking me like where I lived because he wanted to see how close it was to his job. And so I didn't want to give him the actual address, of course. So I just kind of like told him what road it was on. And he said that's fine because he rides a bike to work. So that was kind of a red flag to me because he was like 30 something and you don't have a car. I don't want him trying to like ask me for rides and stuff. And he worked at Zaxby's. It was just like, I didn't feel like that was, it wasn't like a, I didn't feel like it was a reliable financial way for you to pay your rent on time. Plus then he wanted to pay every week or something, or every 2 weeks, because that's when he gets paid. And I was just like, sir, you're doing too much, get out my face. And then the last person was a white guy. He was so weird. When we were texting, like, I didn't know what he looked like, obviously, but he sounded like cool and professional. But I don't know what it was. I just randomly asked him to send me a picture of himself, and he was just like an old white guy. He just said like his wife had just recently kicked him out or something. So I was like, that sounds really complicated. I can't do that, plus you're white. So the rest of the people seemed cool, but they just weren't like a good fit for me. I did meet more people on Craigslist more than anything. And that's another thing. You meet a lot more people on Craigslist than on other places. Like in other websites and other apps and stuff that I just mentioned, some people just don't reply. And then some people overcharge, or some people try and give you less than what you want. Like if I set a certain amount for the money, like if I say this is how much the rent is, don't try and ask if you could pay less than that, because that's not happening. Like my rent was already affordable, like it was already decent, and I was basically charging the person that was gonna live with me like fair. I was charging them literally half the price. I wasn't trying to like have them pay more or anything, which I could have done, but I didn't feel like it was necessary because we both could afford it, and I didn't need them to pay my rent. Like that's not why I had a roommate. I need them to just pay half. That's why I needed a roommate. Last place, well not really place, but your last option to find a roommate is really just through word of mouth. I mean, there's so many people in Atlanta that are looking for rooms that literally like a friend of 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 a friend would be looking for somewhere to stay, you know? So it's literally like, it's not that hard. If you just like, especially if you have a job down here, it's different when you're moving from out of state and you're trying to use word of mouth because you're not here. So you would have to just use my other options. But if you are here already and you're thinking of like moving into an apartment or like to rent a house and you're just looking for roommates to split the bill with you, then obviously, like, you know, if you're at work and you fuck with your coworkers, like you think your coworkers are cool or whatever, then you start telling them, you start talking to them, or if you come down here and you go to school, you start telling people them too. Because for one thing, like, college students are always looking for a cheap place to stay. Like, I'm pretty sure not everybody loves the dorm life, so they are always looking for like a cheap place to stay. I did have a friend once who rented one of his rooms out to a college student, and I mean, it didn't go so well because people are just weird. But there were just a whole bunch of college students like looking to rent a room from him because he had so many rooms in his house, and so it just makes sense to literally just go after college students. But don't be a creep, obviously. If you're a man watching this, just don't be a creep about it. I think that's the easiest option too. Like I said, people are always looking for rooms to rent down here, and they always want to split the bill because not many people know, but the cost of living in Atlanta is getting a little bit more expensive, and it's not as cheap as people think it is or what it once was. I mean, it doesn't matter what part of the area you're in, but a lot of places nowadays are a little pricey. So people are always looking to split the rent, no matter the age. There's just people of all ages. The only thing is that you really need to find quality people. That's the one thing I will stress, just quality people. Yeah, I would just say that if you're looking to live with other people, like on a more long-term basis, then I would definitely say, like, don't be afraid to ask for proof of work. Like, if you want to make sure that this person is going to be paying, if they look a little skeptical, like, you know, most people that are looking to rent a room are not like CEOs of a major company. People who are looking to rent a room from you are going to be people who are either starting up, or they just moved to Atlanta as well, or they're in a place of where they're struggling. So, you know, don't be afraid to ask people for proof that they have a job. You can ask for bank statements, you can ask for pay stubs, whatever. And also, asking for a deposit is never bad. I always asked my roommates for a deposit. Now, it wasn't crazy. It was like $100 for a deposit just in case they broke something and I had to pay for it out of pocket. Or, you know, once they move out, they leave their room a mess and I have to clean it. They don't get their deposit back. Now, my second roommate was a bitch, so that was an issue. If people seem really sketchy, they can ask for first and last month if somebody wants to stay there long term. But for me, it was always like on a month-to-month basis, so whenever you're ready to go, you could go. I really don't care. I'm not gonna hold you hostage. You don't have to sign no contract for like 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. Like, no. I was more on a month-to-month basis. But yeah, I would just say to just be very professional about it. Like, don't be afraid to just like be very stickler. I think my problem when I was getting roommates is that, like, I've never done this before. I hadn't, like, this was all so new to me. I knew certain things to do because I did rent out a room from somebody and I saw the way he did things. But with me, I didn't like all the like extra strict rules because, like, who wants to live with somebody like that? I'm just a very chill person. Like, as long as you kept your space clean and you weren't overly loud or you keep bringing people to the house, then I was cool. Because that's another thing, I really didn't like roommates who brought too many people to the house. And my second roommate, I would just say, like, don't be afraid to put your foot down. Like, make sure that they pay the rent on time all the time, because if you gotta pay for it out of pocket and they still there, like, what the heck? Because I have a friend who actually went through that because their roommate just, I think they couldn't pay for some reason, or they didn't want to pay, and it just became this whole big thing and they didn't want to move out. So you got to really be sure that whoever you're living with is just as professional as you are, and they're just quality people, you know, people with good morals, people with good values. You might think it's just about the money, but it's really not. It gets deeper. You're sharing your space and your energy and, you know, vibes with that people. So just be very picky. Do not be afraid to be very picky of who you live with. Interview the person more than once. Like, you know, do the texts, the calls, the meet in person, all of that. See if they're very serious. And meet in public. Definitely meet in public. Like, if you want to meet at a restaurant, or it doesn't have to be like anything fancy, like y'all not going out to dinner, but like if you want to go to like a Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts or you know, Wendy's or a little coffee shop, like anything that's just in public if you don't feel like you trust this person just yet, because obviously eventually they're gonna want to come to the house or your apartment to check it out. Now on the other side, if you are renting a room from somebody else, yes, you could still meet them in public. You can meet them at their job. That's where I met one of the girls that I was gonna stay with when I first came to Atlanta, but she was just weird. Like I said, she was just weird. But also, if you are renting a room from somebody, I'm just gonna say, in terms of Atlanta, don't let these people rip you off, because Atlanta is just so different. Even though I said it is a little bit pricier than from back in the day, it is still very affordable. So if you're renting a room from somebody, stay within the $600 to $900 range, because you can find a place that gives you your own bedroom, of course, and your own bathroom. You can find a place. I was renting out the bedroom and the bathroom for like $650, because literally the rent was like $1,200 and the electric was, you know, give or take 70, 80, maybe 100 a month. It was just fair to me to just split it right down the middle, so it was $650. A lot of places are just like that. Do not let people try and charge you like $1,000, $1,200, unless you want something like really extravagant, like something real fancy, like something real secluded, something that's like in a richer part of Atlanta. Like say if you're going to like Sandy Springs area or Marietta, Alpharetta, like more up north, maybe Dunwoody-ish, then, or even Buckhead, because if y'all seen my video in Buckhead, them shits are expensive. And yes, that makes sense. But if you're not, if you're gonna stay local or like stay more on the countryside, or even downtown Atlanta, just stay within that range. You really don't have to pay more than that. Last thing I'm gonna say is just to trust your gut, trust your instinct. Do not play with your life, okay? People are crazy. If you're a woman, I would say definitely like try and live with women, because men can get creepy even when they're not. They prey on young women and they take their time and they will try and groom you and all that stuff. Especially here in Atlanta, there's a lot of sex trafficking going on. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but just know what's out there. If you guys have any questions you want to ask me, my Instagram is angel.k. You can also email me. I've gotten 2 emails in the past month. I don't know if I put my email in the description box one time, or maybe it's hooked up to my YouTube channel and people just kind of found it. I don't know. But whatever, like, you can email me or you can DM me. I do prefer DMs though, because my email just has a lot of junk and stuff in it, so it's hard for me to find stuff sometimes, because I'll read it and then I gotta go back to it. But that's just gonna be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys got a lot of information. I hope I was able to inspire you guys and just remind you guys to still stay safe but still take risks at all. Keep that balance. Subscribe to this channel, like, comment, share, all that stuff, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.